Welcome to Chads by Christ. I'm Charlie.
I'm Sean.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all our listeners and to you too, Desh. It's been a bit of a while. We took a little break.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. What have you been up to other than
Um,
the festivities? Or during the festivities, I should say, actually.
Not a lot, to be honest. Um, I did get an upgrade. Um, Shout out my older brother and his fiance. They very generously gifted me a new microphone for Christmas.
Awesome. Yeah, you're
So,
definitely sounding great.
yeah, you all might notice I'm sounding a bit different. Um, that's because the new mic, and if it sounds iffy, that's because I don't know how to use it, and I hope I figure it out soon.
I'm still
Uh,
figuring out how to use mics as well.
yeah,
But,
I'm used to the headset. I can't
yeah,
relax anymore. I gotta get up nice
yeah,
and close.
we got to get boom
Um,
amps, but that's, something else to figure out.
but that's money. That ties into our topic, but we'll get to that in a sec.
Indeed.
So how about you, Dash? What have you been up to?
Yeah,
Anything
not
cool?
too much. Just the Christmas season. Been very busy with various family dinners, outings. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Had a couple of other events as well. So it is the holiday season, but I am tired. I don't know about you.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I am tired as well.
yeah. This
Eh,
week's a bit more quiet and work is starting up next week, so I'm happy to just chill out for a bit.
yeah, yeah. I'm in two minds about work, not gonna lie. Like,
Huh.
I kinda like it sounds weird, but I kind of miss the excuse to not fill my days with plans and all that sort of thing.
I feel you. I feel you.
As much as I like my friends and I like socializing, it is very tiring.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then days where I don't have anything on, I'm just like, bleh, and I don't want to do anything.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's a bit of
days
a
that you don't have anything on are like for me are the most challenging because you're like, I don't feel productive. Like,
yeah,
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 I'm like I need to fill my day with something, and that's when I like, arrange a plan, or I'll, get out, walk the dog, or go to the gym or something, which is, good, or pray. That's also good.
yeah. Prayer's always good. I need to.
Yeah.
I've neglected my rosary today, so I got to do that after this.
hmm
Um, But yeah, like what I've been like chipping away at that plastic model kit I keep talking about, and he's coming along nicely.
What was that for again?
It was a Gundam model.
Oh, right,
You know,
right, right. Nice.
those giant robots here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. That's cool.
Yes.
I'm working on
Um.
something similar.
Oh yeah.
I've got I don't know if you know, but Lego have like these they're called Speed Champions, so they have um like remakes of like popular like cars and stuff.
Ah, yeah, yeah. I've seen them around. Which one have you
Yeah,
got?
yeah. So I was gifted a lighting kit for one that I already had. It's like I get
Ooh,
to add RGB to it now. So that
nice.
makes it way faster, obviously,
Yep,
plus 10 horsepower to the Lego car.
yep, yep.
So yeah, it's been chipping away at that. Surprisingly
That's good.
difficult, but yeah, it's been good.
Nice. And you've got RGB in your real car too, so that's how we know it works.
Exactly, exactly. Plus 10 horsepower there as well.
Yep. But yeah, all this talk of toys and models and microphones and boom arms, I think will
Things.
bring us things. Will bring us nicely to our next topic, well today's
Mm,
topic, uh, which we were planning to do this last week. Around Boxing Day,
hmm
with all the sales and everything going on. But
Yeah.
we wanted to talk about materialism and
Mm,
consumerism in general,
yeah.
and just sort of like suss out how to navigate that as Catholics, as Chads by Christ, as it were.
hmm hmm
Um, so maybe, like, what do you like think about when you hear the words materialism and capitalism? Just to get us started, get the ball rolling, while I
Yeah.
fiddle with my computer because it's doing something weird.
Okay. Well, I think it's very subjective. Because I think there's various different definitions based on who you ask. Like some people, when they hear of the terms materialism and like consumerism, they think of, like the whole like marketing and like advertising craze and like social media, and like, stuff being pushed onto you. But I think it also, um, has more like a personal meaning, like, filling your life with things. Um, so like, it's almost like some people, or not some people, but like it's like in some places it's almost treated as like another form of happiness to just fill your life with more things, and eventually you'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to not being happy that I've got a lot of stuff, but definitely filling my life with
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
My family just did the big yearly clean out, and that's always a pain because I got so many things on so many shelves, and I gotta like shift them and move them, and
Mm-mm.
excuse the
Yeah,
bird. Yeah, shift and move them, toss out the everything I don't need.
yeah,
I'm gonna close my window because the bird, but uh, go on.
yeah. That bird saying something really interesting. I can hear it very clearly. That microphone's working real good.
Yeah, it's working a bit too
Um,
good.
where were we? But yeah, like I think that's like the sort of into word thing. Like a lot of people just think about it in that like way, but it's also, it directly forms like our lives, especially like living in like a first world country, I guess. So to say, um, where we have that freedom, like I'm sure consumerism and materialism have very different definitions in other places. Which is, a little bit sad to think about that, not everyone has the same opportunities and blessings. But again, it's something to pray for, I think. Which I guess ties into another thing we can talk about later on, sort of
Mm-hmm.
how we can combat like that materialism and consumerism like
Mm-hmm.
craze, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's something we can come back to. But what about you, Charlie? Like, what comes to your mind when you think about these terms?
Yeah. It's a tricky one. Like the big one I think of is the Boxing Day sales that
Yeah,
were on last week, and like that sort of sale. Um, that idea of like buy thing because you want thing.
yeah,
Um, you mentioned like getting the happiness out of the stuff. Can you still hear the bird?
a little bit.
The window's closed. I can't do anything about it. Maybe I'll lower my
That's
mic
okay.
again and come in closer.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you have like a pod filter and stuff on it?
I don't think I have a pop filter. I think it's got
Pop
stuff
filter,
in
sorry.
built, but yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
read the specs properly.
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, it might be a bit of playing around.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like I said, I'm figuring it out. Anyway,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So
um,
Boxing Day sales. Yep. Yep.
yeah, I'm in like two minds about it because I tend to be more on like the stingy side of purchases. Like I'll
Yeah.
say stuff like, "Oh, I need to buy a new pair of shoes," but I'll always have an excuse not to buy the new pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not even just like money stingy, but like time stingy or effort stingy.
Fair enough.
Um, like I, for me, I have orthotics in my shoes because everything is wrong with me. I am always sick. Um, so like that extra bit of effort is enough for me to be like, I don't want to do this. The shoes
I, s-
still function; they just look bad.
I said this to you last week. I cannot believe that Boxing Day went and passed once again, and you did not purchase yourself a new immune system.
I look, I heard they were all sold out, all right? The pandemic has hit us all real bad. Supply chain shortages have got us all. We're still recovering.
Mhm.
Concrete drainage pipes still take 7 weeks to be delivered, according to suppliers.
You're sounding like the guys at JB Hi-Fi.
I mean,
We can't we can't fulfill your order because of COVID, which ended like 2 years ago.
yeah, you'd think that things would be back to normal, but no, petrol is still $2.
Oh man,
Go,
that's crushing me, man.
it's makes me want to cry.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, like everything's expensive, everything sucks, but
yeah.
you still need to buy things. You know,
Mm,
um, as good as the gaming headset was, like this will probably sound way better for the podcast, this mic.
Hmm.
And I put it off, and it's good I put it off because I got gifted it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is a thing, and it cost a lot of money.
Hmm.
So as far as so it's not bad to buy things. Like, let's just be clear.
Oh, absolutely not.
I think where it becomes bad, particularly in a Christian Catholic lens, is where this sort of mentality of needing to get things starts to get in the way of the commandments that relate
Mm.
to material things.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking of the seventh commandment and the 10th commandment, which are "Thou shalt not steal" and "Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's things and his ox," or whatever.
Honestly, even commandment number one, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me. Like
Yeah, yeah.
in a lot of places, like like consumerism number one, so to speak.
Yeah,
Like
you're gonna get political for a second. Ooh.
not looking at
No.
you at all, United States. Nah, nah, I'm kidding. Not not to point out a singular country or area or region, because um,
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of first world countries are sort of guilty of the exact same thing.
yeah. Look, it's not a political system thing. Like,
No, definitely not.
capitalism is bad at this in one way, but then you know, communist nations are bad at it in another way. Um,
Exactly,
this
exactly.
is not a politics podcast. I'm not Mr. Shapiro or anyone like that,
I
so I'm not going to say anything
I
more.
don't know any politics.
Yeah, I hate voting. I'm so bad
Is
at it.
is is Joe Biden still the president of the USA?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool. Okay.
President Joe Mama is still in office. Yes.
Is that his official title?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
I see.
I'm not American, so Matt Frad, shout out Matt Frad. He'd know. He's American.
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, back on task.
Yes.
Yeah, breaches against the seventh and the 10th commandment are where this
Yep.
sort of and the first commandment in a more subtle sense.
Mm, mm.
Like 7 and 10 are obvious because don't do this stuff with the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Exactly.
making something material a god, uh, which we'll talk about in a second, but making that sort of making is a much more subtle process and it's harder to detect.
Yeah.
And it
Like, you
sort of
don't really know
follows
until you're
on.
doing it, I think.
Even in the midst of doing it, you won't know until the grace of God
Mm.
comes and kicks you in the sternum.
True.
Speaking from experience with my own sins,
Mhm.
sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to know that you're falling.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so from the uh, Catechism paragraph 2401, this says that the seventh commandment forbids the unjust taking or keeping of the goods of one's neighbor, or wronging him in any way with respect to his goods. It commands justice and charity in the care of earthly goods and the fruits of men's labor. For the
Right.
sake of the common good, it requires respect for the universal destination of goods and respect for the right to private property. Christian life strives to order this world's goods to God and to fraternal charity. Um, so, like I was saying, it's okay to buy things and have things. The church respects the right to private property. And so, this respect for the right to private property pretty directly influences that idea that you don't steal. If you want something, you should get it legitimately. Commandment 10 is probably more relevant in that case, because the Catechism explains it as forbidding greed and the desire to amass earthly goods without limit.
Yeah.
It forbids avarice arising from a passion for riches and their attendant power, which is sort of touches on that idea of happiness coming from worldly goods.
Mhm.
And it also forbids the desire to commit injustice by harming our neighbor in his temporal
Mm.
goods.
Yeah.
So that's talking about stuff like envy, where it's you know,
Yeah.
it's okay if you see your friend rock up with RGB lights in his car and it's like, wow, cool. I kind of want RGB lights in my car. So you go to Amazon. Where'd you get yours from? Amazon, super cheap? I don't know, whatever.
Sorry, say again?
Where'd you get your lighting rig from for your car? Because I'm using you as an
Off my
example.
car.
Yeah,
Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon. Yeah. It's like it's fine if you see a friend buy RGB, rock up with his sick RGB lights in his car, and you want RGB lights, so you go and buy some from Amazon for yourself. Like that's okay. Um, Assuming it's like you're acting in prudence, you're not spending your food money
Yeah.
on an
Yeah.
RGB rig, all that sort of thing. It's
Oh
not
man.
okay.
Like
Sorry, go on.
I didn't eat I didn't eat for like a week after I bought those RGB lights. It was crazy.
Ash,
I kid. I kid.
bad. We're meant to be
For
good
the record,
examples.
I'm joking. I did eat. For the record, I tend to forget about them a lot unless I have someone actively in the car that like enjoys seeing them. Like I just sort of forget they're there when I'm driving, which is I don't think you're meant to use them while driving. I think they're meant to be more of a standstill thing anyway.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's a it's a nice to have, I think. Which is
yeah.
the simple all
It's a bit of fun.
yeah, it's a bit of fun. Exactly.
I make it sound a lot worse than it is. Like all it is a couple of LEDs like in the footwells on the inside. Like
Yeah.
it's not like the ridiculous stuff that you see, um, and like the Fast and the Furious or something like that. It's not.
I do not have underglow, guys.
I'm tempted to get you Underglow, but that.
Can you imagine the ridiculousness of driving around with underglow on a Toyota Corolla?
What do you mean? It's modded.
Plus 5 horsepower.
You gotta get the horsepowers exactly.
Very important in a Corolla. But yeah, I entirely see your point.
What was my point? Oh yeah, like it's okay to want things that
Yeah.
your neighbor has as long as you go
Mm,
about getting them legit.
yeah.
Um,
Sure.
and acting in prudence and all that. The
Yeah.
problem with like wanting your friend's stuff is when you want to take it from him,
Mm,
or if you want to like deprive others of something that you don't have,
hmm.
because that's when it begins to be an offense against charity.
Yeah.
Um, so that's 7 and 10. Um, but like now that I've like said this out loud, I think you are onto something about Commandment 1, which is making where you talk about making material goods like take the
Yeah.
place of God.
No, I mean, I entirely see what you mean with 7 and 10. Like, because that also comes into it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I got it like wrong. Like you start from that offensive Commandment 1,
Mm,
that'll lead you into the offenses against 7 and 10.
exactly. Because
Like it's
yeah,
because you've
exactly.
put material goods in that high place in your value
Mm,
system
yeah.
where it ought not to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you
Um,
get to that point where you'll do anything to get anything and everything to get those material goods.
yeah, yeah. That's where you hear about like rich people who own companies that don't treat their workers right. It's like
Mm,
they value their profits to the expense of the well-being of their workers, which ought to be a higher good.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that was your point. So maybe tell me more about that and flesh it out a bit so I get
Yeah.
more out of
I
it. Yeah.
mean, I feel like we sort of touched on it here and there throughout our discussion. Like there's like yeah, I guess it comes back to not to get political, but in a lot of like I don't know how to phrase this. Like in a lot of places where let's say in countries where people have a bit more expendable income, I think that's more of a thing. Um, like people can afford more things on top of their needs. And yeah, like yeah, I guess that's where I was getting at. Um, like nah, not really. More like let me phrase this. Making a real bad example of explaining my point.
Mm,
It's like I don't want to go back to the political thing, but like it's I feel like I'm sort of drawn to that point in this sense.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
like
think like that's the politics thing is a culture thing. Not like how
yeah,
do I like when people talk about greed, they always immediately say capitalism on the internet.
yeah, yeah.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know because I don't have a PhD in politic. Um,
I mean, you can be part of a functional capitalist society without being greedy. I would like to think.
yeah, I mean, like I literally just did it myself, like 10 minutes. How many minutes ago? 5 minutes or whatever. Like the greedy businessman who seeks after profit instead of the well-being of his workers. Like that is
Huh?
associated with capitalism, you know?
What kind of profits are you trying to overturn?
No, like I'm talking like, you know, the greedy businessman who like doesn't pay his workers a fair wage, who
Right.
doesn't
I thought you were like running like an illegal business in your room or something.
Oh no, I'm talking. Yeah, no, I'm using the example of like that concept of that idea of
Yeah, no, fair.
No, the
Yeah,
only
yeah, I
profits
get
I
you.
care about are the podcast analytics. So make sure to share the podcast if you like it.
Views.
Give me the
Yeah,
numbers. No, more importantly, if we have good things to say, the more people we reach,
yeah,
the more
I
people
agree.
we can. I don't know. If someone can get something out of this, then the more people we reach, the better.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
hope.
But yeah, I think you did a good job of explaining my point. Like sometimes we just get caught up in sort of buying things and like that the hustle. I think the hustle is a good way of putting it. Like you
Yeah,
grind and like yeah, you got to make that bread. You got to you got to do this. You got to do that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, like
That's interesting though, because I always associate the hustle with work. But like, what's
yeah,
the point of work? You work to get money. You get money to get the things,
exactly,
or you
exactly.
get money to get money, right? Like,
Well, that's the thing. For some people, it's literally money for the sake of getting money, not for any other reason.
yeah, like,
And
you
I
know,
think
I
that's where it
mentioned,
starts to get dicey.
yeah, like I mentioned, I'm stingy, and I don't think I'm guilty of being like, you know, rise and grind hustle to get money for money's sake, because I
No,
am allegedly saving for a house. So
yeah, I mean, in this
hopefully,
economy, every dollar counts.
yeah, in this economy, can't be eating avocado toast. I want petrol costs
Yeah.
70 freaking dollars.
I miss avocado toast. Not really. I don't really like avocado that much.
I don't mind
It's
it, but like, yeah, avo toast is not my go-to brunch food. Put it that way.
mm. I'm more of a big bricky kind of guy, I think.
Oh, love a big brekkie.
Mm.
Bacon, eggs, beans. This is not our sausage.
Oof.
Whoa.
It's sausage. But yeah,
I was gonna say
I,
snag and sausage at the same time. Thanks for calling him. Thanks for calling me out, man.
are they the same thing?
They are the same thing.
Yeah, right.
You just
Yes,
brain
yes.
farted, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah, like I think I wouldn't classify you as right, rise and grind hustle.
no,
It's more like
I neither rise nor grind nor hustle. Put it that way.
yeah, exactly. Like, we need to do something with our lives and we
Yeah,
are
like we need
called
to
to do
work. Yeah.
we need to work and we're called to do everything that we do to a point of excellence. Because that's another way of serving God.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, like, we need to do those things like in order to, live in this modern world, and that's fine. Like that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a difference between, yeah, again, what like working just for the sake of having more money, like like you hear of some people. I keep saying this term, like you hear of like terms like hoarding, objects. Well, some
Mm.
people keep going back to that. Well, hoarding money is
Some
also
people.
some people. Well, hoarding money is also a thing. Like it is. I feel like it's a thing. Like just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, not even talking on like religious grounds, but the
No,
whole
yeah.
point of money is to spend it for goods and services.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so like, don't like temper it all with virtue, temper it all with prudence. You know,
Yeah.
you buy your necessities and then you can treat yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but like, you're allowed to treat yourself. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. We're not
Um,
saying save or like not to save all your money because you know, like we need to do that.
yeah, it, yeah, you got to
It's
save
a
your money
it's a
because you got to
balance.
pay for things.
Balance. Yeah.
Things include things you need, like food and shelter and
Hmm.
petrol.
Yeah.
Um, but like that doesn't mean you have to like
Yeah.
live on sackcloth, wear sackcloth forever.
Yeah.
Can
100%.
um, as far as like buying expensive fashions goes, like yeah, you can. Um, I'm too masculine, too practical minded to see the appeal of like expensive brand name fashion because it's just our clothes and it looks like
Yeah.
other clothes.
Yeah. True.
Um,
True.
so that's specifically buying brand names. Like, you can buy stuff that looks nice and look nice. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is purely opinion. This is always like, take everything I say with a grain of salt on this podcast,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No.
this
Fair.
especially. Like, I think buying something just because it has a brand name on it is dumb, and that's
True. True.
like, it reeks of like seeking clout. And that's probably like
Mm,
another type of consumerism or materialism. Whereas like
yeah.
you buy like nice watches and expensive cars and things like that. Like you see it on the internet a lot. Like, you see these people who like buy expensive things and flaunt them
Yeah.
because they want to show off to other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's completely different to me, like buying a PlayStation 5 because I want to play Spider-Man, you know? Um,
True.
Whether or not buying a PlayStation 5 is a prudent choice is a discussion for another time. But like buying a thing to enjoy the thing in and of itself is morally neutral at worst. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
good or bad with
It's all about
enjoying material
temperance
things.
and prudence.
Yeah, exactly. Like it only becomes bad when it becomes an offense against when you like stop acting out of virtue.
Yeah.
It always comes down to virtue.
Yeah.
Um and like yeah, like thinking of that and thinking back to you mentioned like this is sort of a thing that happens in first world countries where people can afford to spend their money on things that aren't the necessities, or like you
Yeah.
know they can spend on the necessities and have stuff left over.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Um,
Not saying it's limited just to first world countries because it absolutely happens in other places.
yeah, but like I think that's like the start, right? Like if you are
Mm.
too busy, you know, focusing on getting the essentials, getting the necessities, like you're less likely to fall into this sort of issue just by the fact that you know you have more important things to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but you know, I always keep saying like, don't you know, make sure you buy your necessities first because there are people who like don't do that. Like there are people who can afford their necessities,
True.
but
And
then
spend it
don't.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, they spend it on things. They take out loans for cars that are more expensive than what they can afford.
Mm.
Um, and whether that's because like the advertisers told them that they need the fancy expensive car, or whether it's because they're chasing clout. Um, I don't know, because people do things for different reasons.
It could be as simple as they think it will make them happy.
Yeah, yeah. For whatever reason they think it'll make them happy, they think it will make them happy.
Mm.
And it doesn't, because um, everything in this world is not hollow, but like it'll pass away. And the happiness will always be temporary.
Yeah.
Um, and this is where we can finally properly start talking about, not properly, but like this is a clearer way to look at like how chasing material goods offends against the first commandment,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is God who we should seek after for lasting happiness,
Exactly.
and it's God who
Yeah.
wants to give us
Uh,
that lasting happiness. And when
yeah.
we
Exactly.
seek anything else, we are disappointed.
Like earthly happiness is limited to Earth and our lives, whereas we should be seeking, that eternal happiness by, doing things that God intended for us,
Mm,
like towards His will. Like I think that's how we can seek eternal happiness.
yeah,
And I think when you're working towards God's will, you definitely feel different than when you're not.
yeah. That's not to say that you're never going to be sad, because you will be.
Oh, definitely.
Um, then it's because the eternal happiness is in eternity, not here.
Yeah.
Um, I think the Lord Himself sort of like says it perfectly in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 19 to 21.
Yeah.
He says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume and thieves break in and steal.
Yeah.
But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where
Yeah.
neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your
Mm,
treasure is, there will your heart be also."
yeah.
Um, so, like, you know, is what we're saying. Like, don't don't expect all of your happiness to come from worldly things, because
Yeah.
worldly things will pass away. and that happiness will die one way or another, and that's normal. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
Um, but if you work towards the kingdom, if you work towards God, you won't, you won't get like earthly happiness forever, here and
Yeah.
now. But you are working towards that eternal happiness.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
100%. I was thinking
I'm still
about that
dyslexic.
scripture verse. Yeah, no, I can hear that. For some reason, I was thinking about the scripture verse that you just said. And I don't know if it's because New Year's just passed, but I was just reminded of this story.
Mm.
Um, a couple years ago, we uh, so it was like New Year's Day. So I wake up and I like sort of walk over to the front like window, like,
Mm.
rubbing my eyes and everything. I'm like, huh, Dad's car isn't there. Like this is like January 1st, like 7 a.m. or something. And
Happy
then I
New
go
Year.
upstairs. Yeah, Happy New Year. Like I go upstairs to see where Dad went, and Dad is still in his bed. Mom is still in her. Mom is still there as well. I'm like, huh, because the car was there last night. So turns out the car got stolen overnight
Oh no.
from the driveway. Um, and the kicker is that the next morning, so basically, Dad had left the keys like in the garage while he was cleaning. Well, he'd left
Yep.
Mum's keys in the garage, so that's why we didn't notice them because Mum hadn't gone anywhere since the day before,
Yep.
and her keys also had a set for his keys. So the
Yep.
kicker was, so on that day we went and we got Mum's ignition like lock changed. They came
Yep.
back the next day to try and take the next car.
Oh no.
So at like 7 a.m. the next day, we just hear like the car trying to turn over. And then the neighbor's dog is barking at them, and the neighbor like gets outside and like tells them to like get lost, and they like leg it. I don't know why that scripture verse brought that story to my mind, but yeah, like things will get stolen on Earth, like
Yeah. Like thieves literally broke in and stole your
yeah,
family's things. Like
yeah,
it's all gonna go away.
yeah, exactly.
Even the plastics that will stay in landfill for 7,000 years. You won't have them
You mean to say that the plastic bag that I accidentally lost will eventually dissipate?
eventually. Yes.
Okay, that brings me some peace. I was worried about the turtles.
It mm, it will damage the turtles before it dissipates. It
I
it
know.
has a long life ahead of it. I'm afraid.
It got swept away by the wind. I promise.
Gone.
Gone.
Now Katy Perry can sing about it, but other than that, it's gone.
Uh, that's another thing. Like a lot of like artists make songs about like consumerism and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's a very again like I don't want to be that guy.
It's
It's like
it's
oh, culture's bad, but culture's kind of bad.
no, it's just funny because like it's its own like specific market. Like music about like materialism and consumerism is like its own thing.
It is,
And like
yeah,
like there's a whole culture around it, which is like really ironic.
yeah. I'm trying to think of examples, and like I keep thinking of rap, and I feel bad because like there's other examples. Like
Yeah, man.
country music always talks about their trucks allegedly.
Did you hear about this guy that only buys things with 50-cent coins?
Um,
But I'll show
I,
myself out now.
I heard
Yeah,
I heard one time that guy he paid for something that was only 45 cents, so he got a nickel back. Eh, eh.
I think we're gonna have to like like end the podcast. Like
Shows
we're gonna
podcast
drive
over.
everyone away.
Podcast over. No one likes us anymore. Listen, it's dad practice, okay?
Yeah, yeah. Man. But yeah, no, honestly, there is an entire subculture around saving money and like being less capitalist. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's
which
subcultures
can
for
also sort
everything, you know.
true. Like the internet is a vast, vast, vast place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a strange place, the internet.
Mm.
Um, to anyone who spends a lot of time on the internet, which unfortunately does include us because we're podcasters.
Yes.
Don't forget to touch some grass every now and then. It's good for you.
I actually keep a patch of grass next to my computer, and every now and again, I'll just give it a pat.
I should do
Does that
that.
work?
Um,
Does that
Kinda.
satisfy the requirement for
I
touching
think
grass?
I think caged grass is unethical though. You want to do free range grass. You wanna let the grass out in the field so it can roam. You know.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. You don't want to be imprisoning your grass in a cage indoors.
Right. Um, what if I grow a grass patch on the roof outside my window?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Then I just have to reach out outside the window, and then I can touch some grass. So might have to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. It's like windowsill herb gardens. Yeah, and that's fine. That's
Or,
allowed.
or I could take out all. Oh wait, never mind. I was gonna say I could take out all the carpet in my room and put down grass.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's how you get worms. Um,
Worms gotta live
Actually
somewhere
though,
too.
they can live outside.
Fair
Humans
enough.
get the insides because everything else gets the outside. Okay,
Fair enough.
that's how that works.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
segues aside, weird grass tangents aside. There, I have like the beginnings of a thought about the subculture stuff, and then I distracted myself. Good on you. Good on me. Um,
Can we re-jog your memory somehow? Subculture, Reddit. Was it about Reddit?
no, it wasn't about Reddit. It was about the music stuff. I think something I've noticed. I think I got what it was, or I found
Mm.
something new. Either way, it works.
Mm-mm.
So something I've noticed, like I used to watch YouTube videos about like movies and like movie analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Every so often they talk about product placement. Do you know
Oh,
do you know what that is? Or like can you guess what that is?
is that linked to like subliminal messaging?
Kinda.
Mm.
What it is, right? What product placement is, right? Is a brand will sponsor a movie,
Yeah.
and um, what then happens is that like the branding will be shown in a more prominent way and in a favorable way. To like
Mm-hmm.
is like a sort of subtle marketing. Um,
Right.
a real recent example I noticed was I saw the new Aquaman movie with a couple of mates the other day.
Right. Yeah.
And in the Aquaman movie, Jason Momoa opens the fridge and he cracks open a beer. What was the beer? I think it was like Guinness. Yeah, Guinness. He cracks open the
Jason
beer
Momoa drinks Guinness.
for Aquaman. Yes, because Guinness sponsored the movie.
Oh.
And so he just has like a fridge with like 6 cans of Guinness, and the camera like very clearly shows that it's Guinness. Um, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is like another scene where he's having beer. And it's beer, it's Guinness, right? Because it's like that dark ale. It's
Yeah.
in a Guinness glass. Like
Oh,
it's a glass branded with Guinness, and I'm like, what? Who? Who lives in their house and pours Guinness into the Guinness brand glass? Get out of here.
I mean, that's like people that drink Coca-Cola out of Coca-Cola glass.
I guess, but like people use, I don't know. Like when I get the Coke glass from Macca's, I drink other things out of the Coke glass.
I like to think I'm a
But
bit of a gangster. I drink Pepsi out of my Coke glass.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal in multiple countries.
Like I said, I'm a gangster.
You're listening to too much rap. You gotta stop.
Yeah, I gotta stop listening to 45 Cent.
Ugh, this guy. But yeah, so like stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's that subtle marketing of you know,
yeah,
Guinness is a good beer because Aquaman drinks it.
yep,
Um,
yep,
and like you don't notice it, but it
yeah,
does.
yeah,
It makes those brands more prominent in your mind, and
yeah.
it does make you like brand recognition is a heck of a thing.
Oh, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and so like if a brand becomes familiar in your brain, you're more likely to purchase from that brand rather than any other brand.
Mm.
Um,
I mean, we almost do the exact same thing. Like, like with our social media, for example, like we have an Instagram page, we make reels and posts like that. Those are designed to, get on an algorithm, and then people will see it, and then hopefully they will click on our links and listen to us.
boost
Like
our numbers.
boost the numbers. Like sort of well, if anything, we're striving after the same thing that these companies are.
Yeah, it's just we're trying to do it for free because we don't have money. Because I got to pay for
True,
petrol.
true.
$70.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I feel for you. You work pretty far away from home.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not looking forward to the commute for the petrol. I am looking forward to the commute for like for
It's
airtime.
good, like yeah, it's good
Lost for
prayer and
airtime.
like listening time. Yeah.
Trying to like maintain the routine when the routine is shifted is always tricky.
How do you find praying when you're driving? Do you find that you get distracted, or you're able to like stay
No,
pretty
no,
focused?
I'm distracted. Like I have to focus on the road. Like
Yeah.
focus is not um focus is like not happening. That's a given.
Hmm.
Um,
But
but
it's
like
still like active prayer time.
yeah, like that's when I'm gonna pray. Like if I don't do it, then I'm not gonna do it. And I'd rather
Hmm.
do it
Yeah.
suboptimally than not at all.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you. I do similar things. Like I was often say words around the train when I on the rare occasion that I do go into the office.
Yeah, train is easier though because you know you're just sitting there.
True. True. Just sitting
Um,
there. Yeah. Agree.
you don't have to operate the 20-ton hunk of metal.
I ask the driver every now and again. He always says no. I don't know why.
He's so selfish. Don't you know sharing is
Yeah.
caring?
Let me play with the big toy.
Mom said it's my turn on the train. Mom.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can just imagine the news report the next evening. Train derailed at Flinders Street Station. A young 24-year-old hijacked the train. It
Yeah.
went too
Yeah.
fast, too quick.
Yeah. Uh, maybe I won't drive the train then,
No.
for the good of everyone else on board.
If anyone's gonna go
Um,
too fast, too quick, it's me. Me and my midlife crisis of becoming a motorcyclist. Like, how's
see,
that
you
for
keep
consumerism? Like, get into freaking motorcycles.
see, you keep saying that, but I feel like I'm gonna get a race car before you get a motorbike. So like, potato,
You're
potato.
definitely, yeah, I've got the stinginess holding me back. And also, like, having to learn how to operate the device.
Yeah.
That's an obstacle and a half. But it's there. The urge, the
Yeah.
temptation
The,
is there.
the temptation is there. Yeah.
Every time I see one pass me on the road, it's like, oh, oh,
Ooh.
oh. Helmets look
You should.
nice.
No, never mind. I was gonna, I was gonna tell you something, but it's just gonna be fueling capitalism.
All right. Well, we got a little bit of time left, so we'll see if we can't make more discussion out of it. Go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you should get your motorbike license, but then that might tempt you to go and get a motorbike. So do not do that.
Yeah, actually, it is tempting. I was
Do
like, I
not do
can
that.
just do that.
Honestly, I actually thought about doing it a couple of years ago. Yeah, it is a thing
Yeah.
that you can do pretty easily. But anyway,
But anyway,
that's probably a discussion for another time.
yes.
Um,
Speaking
another
of
thing
time,
that
let me just quickly check one
yeah,
sec.
we're at
Where are we?
45.
45. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, you were saying?
so
Yeah.
I think just to sort of wrap up the conversation you brought up, like in media, like I think there's also a lot of media that portrays going back to what I was talking about with the rise and grind hustle, so to speak. Like,
Mm.
you know, movies like The Wolf of Wall Street, even movies like The Social Network. I think it's a bit more subtle, but you know, the whole Mark Zuckerberg, like,
Mm.
you know, grinding to like get Facebook off the ground and then greed eventually taking over and he sold out his best friend.
Yeah.
Like movies like that just like sort of like, almost glorify that rise and grind hustle.
Mm.
Like those are pretty much epitomes of um making objects almost a religion.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen either of those movies, so I can't talk
I
to
actually haven't
either of
either
them.
because well, I know for a fact that The Wolf of Wall Street is a disgusting movie, so I have not seen it.
Yeah,
Um,
look, I know it's got scenes
yeah,
I'm not equipped to
it's
watch,
dicey.
so
It's
yeah.
dicey.
Um, whether or
But
not
there's
it's like
actually a yeah, yeah.
whether depiction and glorification are the same thing is a discussion for another time. But
Oh,
again, I
well,
haven't
yeah.
seen the movie, so like I don't know. Um,
Yeah, yeah. No, I just know about them and I've seen stuff on social media, but yeah,
yeah.
never fully watched them.
And there's more
Um,
nuance to that than just like, oh, the movie doesn't explicitly say it's bad, because the movie's also covered in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood itself.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Hollywood itself being, you know,
The
glitzy and
exact same thing.
glamorous,
Yeah,
in and of itself promotes that culture. So, you know,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
nuance upon nuance. But to get back to your point, like, yeah, movies glorify this idea a lot.
yeah.
Um, Product
It's not
placement
even
is a
those, like,
smaller part of it.
just Wall Street in general. Like, you hear people in the, you know, the big 4 companies, so to speak, that work, like, 80, 100-hour work weeks,
Mm,
and, like, financial trading and things like that.
yeah, that's
Like,
cooked.
it's yeah. I struggle with my 36.5-hour week sometimes. I cannot imagine how people do 80-hour work weeks. It's insane.
Yeah, there's there's definitely a culture in the West where like productivity. You mentioned like feeling kind of down because you didn't feel productive over the holidays
Mm,
because you weren't doing anything. Um,
mm,
there is definitely this culture of like you have to be productive to be worth something. Um, that's putting it extreme, but like there's definitely a sort of moral weight on production. And that has a kernel of truth, right? Like we need to work. We need
yeah,
to, if you don't work, you ought not to eat. Well, that's not, look, that's, if you can work, then you should work for your keep, right? Like that sounds like a statement. That's perfectly fine to say.
yeah,
But then, like, you also have to rest. You also
mhm,
have to do things that aren't work, we we don't consider the family as work until we decide to campaign for things like abortion and contraception.
yeah,
Um, but like either the family is a type of work and that needs to be valued by rise and grind hustle people, or it's not a type of work and it needs to be not neglected by rise and grind hustle people.
mhm,
Um, like just your jobby job 9 to 5 making money, because that's what it comes down to. This productivity mindset. It's all about making money, whether
yeah,
that be for yourself. Sorry, whether that's for yourself or for your boss. Um, like that's not a mindset worth having
yeah,
because money isn't the end goal of anything,
yeah,
really. Like it's a tool, and it's a tool you need to do things like get food and buy petrol and get
mhm,
microphones and PlayStation 5s. Um, but like it's not the focal point of your life, and it ought not to be.
yeah,
Because again, like God is your primary end,
yeah,
and
definitely.
to not seek after that is bad. Not just because like it's sin, but because it won't satisfy. Like it will just leave you in the dust.
Mhm,
Like maybe you'll have all the money, but like you'll be so wrecked that you'll be falling into other things to cope. Like pretty sure these Wall Street bankers have like a terrible culture of drug use and alcohol use,
oh, yeah,
precisely
definitely.
to cope
Yeah,
with like the
yeah,
stress and the pressure of what they're doing to themselves.
yeah, yeah. Have you seen Suits?
I have not.
Suits is one of those shows that I did watch, because not so much like, it was more around the storyline, like, I think that's what it's a pretty popular show, and I think that's what attracted a lot of people to it.
Mm.
And it's not about although it does actually come into that, financial trading and
Oh,
stuff does come into that,
it's about lawyers,
but
isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
they're also
like,
like rich
it's
hustle types. Yeah, but to paint it
well,
with
yeah,
broad
like, it's
strokes.
about this guy, so he's actually a drug dealer, but then
Oh well.
once he's doing a deal in this rich hotel, he almost gets busted by cops. So he randomly walks into this job interview,
Mm.
and turns out he's got an eidetic memory. So he's able to remember everything, and he actually used this to do the bar exam for people. So he goes to this interview, and he manages to impress this big shot lawyer, and he gets
Mm.
hired as a Harvard graduated lawyer, even though he's never been to Harvard. He
All
actually
right.
got kicked out of Harvard.
Right.
So yeah, you follow this guy's story, and like a lot of these like places do drug testing, but like these people do 80 to 100-hour work weeks, and a lot of the ways they relieve stress is like through like drug use and stuff like that. Like, that's pretty potent in like the series.
Mm.
Like that's yeah, like that. It's a movie depiction, but I think it's actually somewhat very accurate,
Yeah, and I think
like the lifestyle that these people lead.
yeah, and to bring it back to an earlier point, like the protagonist, the guy that we're supposed to root for, is a drug dealer and a fraud who takes part in all of this and is learned to be like I haven't seen the show, so I don't know if he's like improves or anything.
Like
But like
morally, you mean?
yeah, morally, like Like
Eh,
this is the quote unquote good guy that we're supposed to root for, and so these are the values that we support in doing so. Um,
yeah.
and again, that's not to say like don't watch Suits; it's going to corrupt your mind. Like maturity and nuance and all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a very interesting story arc. He actually, at one point, he goes and works for a not-for-profit organization because he wants to be more focused on helping people.
mm,
But then eventually he leaves there and then goes back to helping the big shot lawyers.
the hustle and the money. I'm assuming
Us-
the hustle.
Partly.
Oh,
Like I
partly.
think there was like a deal where like he was able to like work part-time with this like not-for-profit place and like still help them out as well. I'm
Ah,
not
okay. So
sure.
it's just like a
I,
temporary arrangement.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I followed the series enough to actually actively see if he kept up with that. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. Look, I don't know. I know. Like the woman actress married a prince, and everything went pear shaped for a certain family. That's all I
yeah,
know about Suits.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That did happen.
yeah, he wrote a book about it, and people spoke about it for a week, and then forgot
Yeah,
about it, as you do.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, like back to what I was saying, back to what you're saying, like glorification of a culture. We probably have to do another media episode because there's a lot of density about how to approach media.
I think so. I think so.
Because it's not that you can't watch shows like Suits, but you have to watch shows like Suits with like a sort of guardedness that you don't imbibe the bad values that it promotes directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
Because again, like the protagonist tends to be the person that you want to win,
Mhm.
whatever that means in the context of the story. Like
Mm.
you want Mr. What's his name? Protagonist man?
Mike Ross.
What's his name? Bycross.
Michael.
Ah, Michael Ross. Okay. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want Michael to like the show like as far like my impression of the show having not seen it is that like the show set up that the
You want to root
ideal
for
for
him.
the story like yeah, you want to root for Michael to
Yeah.
succeed at
Yeah.
being a fake lawyer or whatever.
Exactly. Well,
Um
yeah.
and so you just got to be on guard that like, you know, this is what the show wants me to this is how the show wants me to engage
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, whether or not I ought to engage in it in this way or if I should engage with it consciously and intentionally in a different way. Um,
Mm.
that's like the nuance and the maturity that you have to exercise.
Yeah.
And that's why I got into like these media analyses things on YouTube because this stuff's interesting and it's good to know what's in a movie, you know.
Well, is there like a specific channel that does this? Because I'm actually finding this really interesting now.
Um, there are a few. There's not a specific channel. There's a few channels. They tend to be look not to be political, but if you are politically minded, like do keep in mind the channels that I've used to watch tended to be more left leaning, left of center, if that
Hmm.
influences anything. But I think one of my the one that comes to mind as one that I like is he's called Pop Culture Detective.
Okay.
And he's got a couple of good ones. He's got a lot of good ones about how uh, women are depicted in movies and stuff.
Right.
And like that's a topic that I'm interested in. What with my history of porn use and struggles for purity and all that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but like he had a video that I wanted to watch but couldn't because he showed the footage of like the trope of like a woman undressing near a harmless man, like the good guy man,
I see.
and like what that suggests about how you view women and like who can view women and all that sort of thing.
Right.
Um, then he's got like other ones. It's been a while since I've watched him, but I think he did. Was it him or someone else that did one about uh, a Disney movie or like a Pixar movie called Strange World, and like its commentary on industrialism and cooperation with nature and all that sort of thing.
Oof.
So yeah, like yeah, global warming, but you know, it's like a deeper analysis of the messages of movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's always just important to like. It's good to have that sort of framework when you watch or engage with content
Hmm.
because like even if you're not aware of it, like these messages are being implied, and you might be taking them in whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
But that's a more detailed discussion for sorry. That's more detailed talk for another episode, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Especially because I think we're out of time on this one.
I think so. We're about an hour
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yep. So we'll wrap
Cool.
up as always with prayer intentions.
Yeah. Do I have any prayer intentions? I mean, there's always a prayer intention. What am I saying? Maybe keeping in the topic of consumerism. I think I would like to pray for maybe people in countries that aren't as blessed to, sort of have this issue even like this issue of consumerism. Like, like I said before, it sort of is obviously more prominent in countries where people have more expendable income. Yeah, maybe we're in other places where people are doing it tough, especially in places that are going through, war and tumult and, those various issues. We pray for those people that they're able to at least get the bare necessities, if not, able to satisfy their wants, I guess.
Yeah. You mentioned war and tumult. The
Mm,
conflicts in Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, like
mhm,
they're still going. Still
mhm.
going. So keep praying about that
Yep,
because, perseverance and prayer is important,
yep,
even though these things go on for ages. Yeah. Sorry. As for I have another prayer intention. A couple actually. Uh, we got a couple of friends of ours in Mexico at the moment.
yep,
So pray for them. Pray that they're having a good time. Pray that they're safe.
yeah, yeah.
Um, all the good stuff. And I know that a certain someone's birthday is coming up. Yep. So we release on Sunday, and then so next week a certain someone's having their birthday. A certain co-host of mine.
I
So
wonder who that
uh,
is.
who could it possibly be? But yeah, pray for him. Because his birthday's coming up, so keep him in your prayers.
Thank you, thank you. You're making me blush over here.
Stop. Yeah, pray for him. Pray for, like Dash mentioned, pray for the poor, those who are less
Mhm.
fortunate. Like we didn't even talk about how materialism can distract us from our duty to the poor.
Yeah, I actually had that thought multiple times throughout the podcast. I didn't bring it up. I'm kicking myself
Mm,
now.
well, tough, but we can maybe
We
revisit
should
it later, or I mean,
we
we'll
should
do a
do an
series on
episode
something.
on Christian service.
Yeah, yeah.
Have we already done that? I don't think we have.
We haven't.
I
No, we
think we've
haven't done that.
touched on it, but that's a good one. We should do that.
Yeah, we've touched on a lot of things, and there's a lot of things we got to discuss more. So
Yeah,
chuck it on
yeah,
the list.
yeah,
But yeah, so pray for the poor,
yeah.
and pray. I don't know how to phrase this in a way that isn't like an accusation, but like pray for us and pray for yourselves if there's
Mm,
anything you can do for the poor,
yeah.
that the Lord can guide you into doing that.
Doesn't have to be anything big either.
Small
You know,
things.
yeah, like like in the spirit of not filling your life with things. If you have things or clothes that you're not using and you feel like you could maybe someone else could still benefit from them. They're still worthy of use. You could donate them. Salvation Army.
Yeah,
Same things like
Vinny's.
those
Yeah.
places exist, and they will happily take these things and then sell them at discount, or even give them away to people that really need them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just a little things like that.
yeah,
If you have spare money, you can always donate to good charities of your choice.
yeah. Donate to good charities. Donate to even the church.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, do the thing. Like the Lord will tell you what to do, so ask him, and then
exactly.
do it.
I
Easier
think
said
that's
than
that'd
done
be better
sometimes,
wrap
but
up.
yeah, yeah,
Agreed, agreed. Alrighty. Well,
yeah.
thanks for
So
listening, guys.
yep, thanks so much for listening. We hope to hear you again in the next one. Pray for us. We'll be praying for you,
Yep.
and keep on keeping on, and keep on striving for excellence. God bless.
Yes. God bless, guys.